As we continue our walk back towards the area of the Spanish Steps, past more of the little boutiques and fancy fashion stores and jewelry stores of the city, you can even buy fake Gucci goods from these fellows on their motor scooter stands. You'll find some of the street merchants around, but mostly you want to spend your money in the nice fancy stores, or at least do your window shopping in these places. Back to the Spanish Steps, we keep coming back to this great magnet of the city, Piazza de España, and back onto the subway. We've completed our great walk through the city. So you buy your subway ticket here, 800 lira. It's about 60 cents for a subway ride. Put the ticket in the turnstile and just hop right on the train. You'll be back at your hotel before you know it. This has been a grand walk starting from Piazza de España and ending up back at Piazza de España. We've covered Il Gesù, the Campo dei Fiori, Via dei Coronari, Via Giulia, Santa Maria della Pace. We've seen Ponte San Angelo and the Piazza Navona, Pantheon, the greatest part of Rome, the historic center of the city. And it can be covered in a day, better yet if you have 2 or 3 days like we do with our Wide Geographic Tour. But Rome is small enough that you can see most of its main historic attractions actually in a one-day period, if you know where you're going. But it's such a wonderful city, you'll want to spend at least 3 days in Rome. As we're doing, we've completed our morning walk. Now we're back to the hotel to start our afternoon bus tour. We always have a city tour with a local guide after a nice refreshing lunch at a sidewalk cafe. Beneath Michelangelo's great dome and before Bernini's great altar of the bronze and gilded throne of St. Peter, looking straight up Bernini's twisted bronze column of the Baldacchino to Michelangelo's vast dome in the background and the incredible church and altar and nave of St. Peter's is certainly one of the visual highlights of a tour of Europe. And in this case, we're in St. Peter's in the afternoon. This is different than being in St. Peter's in the morning, and I'd like to emphasize that if you have a chance to visit St. Peter's in the afternoon, especially the late afternoon, by all means take advantage. It's much more peaceful. There's usually a mass going on so that you can really experience the true atmosphere of a church. Unlike in the morning when it's a lot more crowded with tourists, the tour buses pull in, especially on a Wednesday morning when there's the papal audience. So try and avoid that and go in the afternoon and really enjoy the feeling of the church, the greatest church in the world. After enjoying such a celestial experience, we're now ready to proceed with our panoramic tour of Rome as we board our air-conditioned Carani tour bus and enjoy some of the sights of this great city with our guide, Tony.
Rome is a city with 4 seasons, but mild winters. Here, and see the splendid view of Rome straight. See? Great view from here. It's going to be better in a couple of minutes. We enter the park leading to the terrace. And to the right, great view. The best view of Rome from the top of the Janiculum Hill.
Overlooking the Tiber River on the Trastevere side, the Janiculum offers the most spectacular view of Rome, particularly in the afternoon when you have the sun behind you lighting up the great monuments of the city. You can see the monument to Victor Emmanuel towering over everything else. You can see obelisks and church domes forever from the Janiculum. With a sharp eye, you can pick out San Andrea della Valle. You can see the dome of the Pantheon itself, 2,000 years old, and still towering over its neighborhood. This is another one of the romantic parks of the city. There's statues and, of course, the overwhelming presence of the Dome of St. Peter's. Built 400 years ago, and to this day, the world's tallest dome. This colossal building is nearly 200 feet high and about 2,000 feet around in circumference, making it the largest of all the ancient Roman buildings to survive. You can see the 3 orders of columns, the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian, from bottom to top. A lot of the building was pilfered and pillaged during the medieval and the Renaissance period to be used as a construction quarry. And the travertine marble blocks were taken to other parts of town and used for construction of palaces and other grandiose schemes. And yet, despite this, it still stands as the largest of the ancient ruins. It wasn't the largest building ever constructed by the ancient Romans. They certainly built palaces and bathhouses that were actually larger than the Colosseum, believe it or not. But this is the grandest of the ancient monuments. Our first full day in Rome has been quite an experience, with a morning walking tour and the afternoon city bus tour. Now we've worked up an appetite, so we're heading across the Tiber River into Trastevere. Trastevere means across the Tiber, and that's one of the most interesting neighborhoods for characteristic Roman restaurants. It's an authentic residential neighborhood that dates back many centuries. And the streets of Trastevere are wonderful for strolling in, as our Hawaii Geographic Society group finds out on our way to the restaurant. It's only about 7:30 p.m., which is very early in the evening for Roman restaurants to get started, so the waiters and cooks are just hanging around out here in front of Gino's, one of the nicer little restaurants in Trastevere. But tonight we're heading to the Piazza Santa Maria in Trastevere to enjoy a fine outdoor dining experience at Galeassi. We've got a musician who's going to be serenading us this evening. Beautiful sunset, beautiful setting here in the piazza. This square is a real popular local hangout, and the fountain steps provide many seats for people to relax on. We're dining right next to another famous restaurant called Sabatini's. They also have musicians and outdoor dining. So now let's just sit back and listen to some fine music.
Se canti la tua voce è un'armonia di pace che si diffonde e dice: se vuoi vivere felice devi vivere qua giù.
Dinner in Trastevere at an outdoor restaurant with music. What a fine treat when you're visiting Rome. Something you should certainly enjoy. Go over to Sabatini's or Galeassi, as we're enjoying here this evening. This is our Hawaii Geographic Society group tour through Europe. You're watching our first city, Rome, and we'll be continuing for the next several weeks up through Europe, up to Florence and Venice, and heading north into Switzerland, on to Paris and London. But this is just now the ending of our first full day in the city. We've had quite a time here enjoying Rome and enjoying this great meal.